ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Rams, Seahawks, NFC West Family Business. If these two teams say they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's NFC West Family Business. And boy, was this some strange family business or what? So let's kind of go through all of the things that transpired in this game. First things first. There were so many missed opportunities in this game. And I think I'm going to elaborate on this a little bit later on. I don't really want to harp on it right now at this very moment. But Matthew Stafford has missed a lot of throws in this young NFL season for the Rams. Now, he made a lot of throws tonight, and he made a lot of throws after injuring his finger. We'll come back to that. But a lot of missed opportunities on both sides. You had a missed field goal right before half. You had a failed 4th down and 2 when the Seahawks decided inexplicably to run it. Matthew Stafford looks like he's trying to throw it away out of the back of the end zone, but doesn't actually chuck it out of the back of the end zone, and it gets picked off by Quandre Diggs. You're like, what are you guys doing anyway? Like, it was almost as if neither team wanted to win this game. And then you get the injuries. Stafford injures his finger. Then Russell Wilson injures his finger. The biggest difference is Stafford is able to come back from his injury. Russell Wilson is not. We'll get to that a little bit later on. You had a punt blocked. I've never seen this. And I told you, there aren't many things in an NFL game. I've watched so much football in my life, okay? I've been watching football for over 30 years now. There's not many things I haven't seen on a football field. I've never seen a kick blocked, picked up, and then kicked again, and then have it be no penalty. Now, first of all, I've never seen a kick blocked and then picked up and then kicked again. That's number one. But then I just assumed, okay, illegal man downfield, or, you know, you can't you can't throw a ball twice forward. Well, I guess that one didn't pass the line of scrimmage, so you can do whatever the hell you want to do with it. Okay. So he picks up. What a clutch move by Michael Dickinson, man. That dude's, he's a baller too. Anyway, so that was weird and different. And then Geno Smith come in. Geno. Oh, Geno. Oh, no. But it wasn't oh no tonight until the very last throw of the last meaningful possession. But Geno actually comes in and gives them a spark. And I'm saying, what the hell is going on out here? Then you got Matt Gay, who hasn't missed an extra point in 20 years, misses an extra point. Then he tries to kick every single kickoff out of bounds. Like, what are you doing, guy? So this was a strange game, but when plays had to be made, credit must be given where it is due. The Rams stepped up. After that Geno Smith touchdown drive where DK Metcalf was clutch and Geno Smith made every throw on that possession, and they cut this thing to a 2-point game at 16-14. The response by the Rams, that's championship level football right there, okay? That is championship level football because the crowd was as raucous as it had been all night long in that football game. The crowd was at fever pitch. They were delirious at that point. You know, they were chanting Geno's name as he ran onto the field for that drive when they got the football back with a chance to win it. So this crowd was ready. And the Rams came onto the field. They didn't have the best field position in the world. And they went ahead and they moved that football right down the field in a moment's, notice. It was like in an instant. It was bing, bang, boom. And all of a sudden, they're already inside the Seahawks 5-yard line. And next thing you know, Sony Michel is walking into the end zone. PlayStation. And just like that, crowd is silent again. Matt Gay tacks back on the field goal, extra point, and it's back out to a 2-point game at that point. And I'm saying, wow, that for all of the shenanigans that is going on tonight with Matthew Stafford, some missed throws, some underthrows, that right there Even though if he hits Cooper Kupp, the best part of waking up's the Rams Cooper Kupp. If he hits him in stride, that's a touchdown. It's a hell of a slide and catch by Cooper Kupp, but it didn't matter, because I don't know how his finger affected him. I just know he got it done when it had to be done, and that was a big-time drive. And, there's something to be said about playing some of your best football in the most critical situations. And in that particular drive, you go 3 and out there, you give it back to Seattle, you're probably going to end up having to mount a comeback drive of your own because they're going to take the lead, whether it's with a field goal that gives them a 17-16 lead, or they score a touchdown and they take a 21-16 lead, or they go for 2 and they get it and it's 22-16, or they fail on the 2-point conversion and it's 20-16. Either way, you're going to have to score either a touchdown or a field goal to win the football game if you don't do something with the football. And not only did they do something, I don't think they incurred a 3rd down on that possession. They raced right down the field, got in the end zone. That was a big-time drive. I can say this about both teams defensively. They're not the same as they were a season ago. I don't think either one of these defenses are any good. Well, okay, that's far-fetched. I don't think the Rams defense is as dominant as it was under Brandon Staley a season ago. Okay, I think we can all agree on that right now. Now, they wouldn't have allowed Geno Smith last year to come in and tear him a new asshole because Geno Smith was in the process of surgically removing the Rams' anus before he threw that pick. And you could argue if Tyler Lockett doesn't trip over his own feet, he's probably going to catch that football because it looked like it was right on the money. So, again, this Rams defense, I watched them get carved up by Kyler Murray. Again, not a bad guy in offense to get carved up by. They got a lot of talent in Arizona. But I watched them get carved up last week, okay? I'm watching them tonight, and I thought they did like they always do against Russell Wilson. They do a pretty good job. But Russell Wilson missed some shit. And one of those times, he got hit. Tyler Lockett is 6 yards behind the defense, and Russell Wilson gets hit as he's throwing the football, and that's how it ends up being a little bit overthrown. But they're not the same team defensively, are the Rams. I'm just going to say that. Seahawks, they haven't been good defensively for quite some time, it feels like. Like they've been on defense. Like last year, same thing. But they haven't been dominant for years, it feels like. And I remember once upon a time, I used to have this golden rule on primetime television in Seattle: never, ever go against the Seattle Seahawks. Well, I don't feel that way anymore. You can beat Seattle in Seattle, no problems. I told you, when have you ever remembered the Titans, or any team for that matter, coming back from a 14-point deficit in Seattle in the 4th quarter with less than 7 minutes to go in the game, and the Seahawks ultimately lose the game at home? It didn't used to happen. That's no longer the case. They're in trouble this year, and we don't know the extent of this Russell Wilson injury. But if this one keeps him out for any significant amount of time, their season could be in peril right now. Right now. And at 2-3, they're already in trouble in a division that you can ill afford to do what they've essentially done here, which is drop to under 500. They're in some serious trouble. And if Russell Wilson's got to be out for, let's just say, 3 weeks, let's see what their next 3 contests look like. See what we're dealing with here with this Seattle Seahawks schedule and where they are. Because I can tell you this right now. They got the Steelers. That's on Sunday Night Football. That's a winnable game with Geno or without it, with Russell or without him. That's a winnable game because the Steelers stink. Their offense is tragically bad. Then they get the Saints the following Monday night at the crib. That's a winnable game too. And then you got the Jags at the crib, then at the Packers, then home for the Cardinals. So and there's a bye week in between that Jags and Packers game. If he's got to be out for a month, he'd be back after the bye week. I think you could win 2 out of those 3 games without him against Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. You could win both of those with Geno Smith. If we're assuming he comes in and plays the way he played tonight. That's the assumption. And now if he reverts back to the old Geno that we all have come to know and love, then you won't win any of those games. But if he plays like he did tonight with confidence and poise, you can beat 2 out of those. You can win 2 out of those 3 games. We don't know the extent, though. Russell Wilson is one of the toughest SOBs in the league. That's why the guy hasn't missed a game. I don't know if he's missed a snap since he's come into the league. So, I mean, obviously that has changed tonight. We'll see if he can keep, because I think he's got the longest active starting streak in the league at the quarterback position, if I'm not mistaken. That's now in jeopardy. We'll see what happens there. But let's go back to the Rams for a second, because I started with this conversation and I want to pick back up where I left off. And that's with Matthew Stafford missing throws. Now, we can talk about the injured index finger that may have affected some throws after the injury. I'm talking about before the injury to the index finger. He missed some throws, okay? And he missed some throws in week number 3. And he missed some throws in week number 4. And he's been missing throws all season long. And nobody's talking about it because he's better than Jared Goff, right? But there's been a lot of hype surrounding Matthew Stafford and what his presence in LA does for this Rams offense and, more importantly, Rams football team, okay? And rightfully so. Stafford is a hell of a quarterback. That said, he's been missing a lot of throws. I talked about this last week against Arizona. He missed a bunch of throws in that game. Guys were open, especially Cooper Kupp. Wide open. One in particular for a walk-in touchdown. And he overshot him, threw it over his head by like 4 yards. Like, he's missing throws. Early in this ball game, Cooper Kupp's open on a corner route, and he's missed this throw at least 4 times this year, where Kupp's coming open on that, you either could call it a deep bench or that corner route. And he just airmails it over his head. And like, what are you doing, guy? Robert Woods is wide open. I think it was the first possession of the game. Where are you throwing the ball, guy? He's missing throws. That DeSean Jackson long ball, which I thought really opened up the game for both teams. It's almost like that big 68-yard completion woke both teams up because they were both sleepwalking at the time of that completion. I think the score was 7-3 at the time of that completion. And that was a big play in the game. It really was, because the Rams offensively were struggling. The Seahawks didn't know if they were coming or going. And this game easily could have been like 9-7 if that play doesn't take place. But it seemed like that one woke everybody up, especially the Rams offense. And that was underthrown. But it had to be. And I think he got lucky because he was pressured. Had he not been pressured, he might have actually decided, let me overthrow DeSean for once, because all of his throws to DeSean Jackson seem to be underthrown, criminally underthrown. And maybe he would have underthrown him again anyway, because that's what he always seems to do. Well, it worked out in his benefit this time. But, man, he's missing some throws. Now, I will say, he made some throws tonight, too. He stepped up and he delivered a couple of throws. And as I mentioned already, the one Cooper Kupp throw on that drive when it was 16-14, yeah, it could have been a little bit further out. He could have run under it and maybe scored a touchdown. But still, he made every single throw on that drive. There was that same throw he made to Robert Woods on that drive that got him a big gain to really get that drive jump started. He missed that same throw earlier in the game. You're like, bruh, what are you doing? He's got to be better, man. You could get away with that tonight against Seattle. You got away with some of that stuff against Tampa because their secondary is weak right now. But you saw what happened when they did it against Arizona. You play better competition, you play better teams, and you play that way and you miss those opportunities. You may not get those opportunities again. He's got to be sharper. And he was good. You look at his numbers. He threw for 360 and some change. High completion percentage. It should have been higher, and he should have thrown for 400 tonight. So he's got to be better. And that interception, that's inexcusable. You're too damn old for that shit. You leave that tomfoolery for the young fellas, Okay, you leave that shit for Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence and Trey Lance and Matt. You let the young fellas do that shit. Don't ever let me see you doing some bullshit like that when you got points on the scoreboard. Throw that shit away. The hell is wrong with you? Again, you got lucky that Seattle right now doesn't really know what the hell's going on. Because if you were playing somebody better, throws like that dumbass interception, that shit cost you ball games. That's inexcusable. Not from a veteran like Matthew Stafford that's been around the block 15 times. Got to be better than that. So I need him to be better. If this Rams team is going to win a Super Bowl, he has to play better. He was good tonight, but he can be better. There is definitely room for improvement. And I don't know what it is about Sean McVay coach teams, but it seems like there's always an issue. It was loud in Seattle. It's always loud in Seattle. But there's always issues with the play clock. How many times have we watched a game on primetime television? Sean McVay is hauling ass down the sideline so he can call a timeout. And it don't matter what quarter, first, second, third, fourth. He's always burning timeouts throughout the game. Tonight he just said, "Let it ride." It was. Hey, just take the 5-yard penalty, man. Like, why can't they ever execute and get in and out of the huddle, get to the line of scrimmage, make whatever checks need to be made, and get the damn ball snap? Seems like we get one or two of these with a Sean McVay coach team every single week. It's almost like it's too much going on in the headset, and it's too much going on at the line of scrimmage, too many checks being made. Find a way to be more efficient. But they got it done tonight. And I think that it takes a season. You know, it's early. It's only 5 games in to iron out all these wrinkles. And the good thing is you're ironing out some of these wrinkles with dubs. You're 4-1, okay? I think Cooper Kupp might have injured himself on that catch down by the goal line where he landed on his clavicle. I saw him, get up a little, gingerly, and I saw him grimacing a little bit. And then at the end of the game, when they came on for that final possession, I saw him flexing his chest. I hope I don't hear, next week we get to the, Wednesday's practice and Cooper Kupp's listed on the injury report and he didn't practice, with a shoulder injury. I hope that's not the case. He's too important and too vital to the success of this Rams football team and their offense. But boy, did Woods and Kupp put on a show tonight. 12 catches, 150 yards for Robert Woods, another 7 catches and 95 yards for Cooper Kupp. Those two were dialed in, and Kupp should have been over 100 yards too if Stafford didn't miss him. And you could argue Woods would have went over 200 if Stafford didn't miss him a couple of times as well. So those guys were machines tonight. And that Rams offense, when it is working, when it is clicking and everything is going right, it's really hard to stop. And also got to give some credit to the running backs, especially Henderson, who I thought was fantastic tonight as well. So with that said, I want to hear from you guys. Let's get to the comment section. Use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read. We'll get to the Super Chats first. If you want to jump to the front of the line, Super Chats are the way to make that happen. But if not, use the hashtag LouieTLive. We'll get to as many comments as we can tonight. We start out with Vincent Coe. Thank you for the Super Chat, Vincent Coe. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Vincent Coe writes, "Oh man, I thought this will be the game of West Virginia legend Geno Smith." He said, "Can it all be so simple? Can it be that it was all so simple then?" I said, man, if Geno comes in and they win this sumbitch 24-23, oh my stars. The game will never be the same. It will never, ever be the same. If Geno comes in here and leads a miraculous, improbable come-from-behind victory. Who didn't think? Raise your hand. Who didn't think when Geno came in, pinned up against his own 4-yard line, or was it 2? Whatever it was, I think it was his 2-yard line. Who didn't think, well, this shit's over? What was the score at that time? 16-7, right? Who didn't think this shit was over? I did. I was shocked when Geno took him down the field. I said, oh, it's cute. Geno got a couple first downs. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Somebody forgot to tell Geno he stinks. What is he doing? And then next thing you know, Geno's pointing to his veins like, hey, I got ice water in these things, man. This is what I do. I'm like, wait a minute. Who is this masked man? Where's the Scooby-Doo clan at? We need to pull the mask off of this guy. Get the helmet off of it. Who is really under that helmet? Can't be Geno Smith. Anyway, I digress. I thought so. I for a minute there, I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? What is going on here? Vincent Cole, thank you for the super chat. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Vincent Cole. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, without Russ, the Hawks probably the bottom 5 team. Yeah, we already know that. Like, we've said this for a really long time. You know, and that was one of the conversations I had this offseason, this offseason when the whole Russell Wilson thing cropped up for a brief second, where he was like, look, I'm not asking to be traded, but if you are thinking about doing something, here's where I like to go. And I was like, the Seahawks, you know, we were getting all these reports. Pete Carroll and company are not happy with Russell Wilson. I said, they could be unhappy all they want. You go ahead and get rid of him if you want to and see what happens to your organization. And they not stupid. They know better. They know better. They know better. Don't try to flex. It's a no flex zone. Don't try to flex. Like, you run the show and y'all can do it without him. Don't be Belichick. Don't try to flex, because you'll find out real quick where you are in the pecking order without that guy at quarterback. So they found out real quick. They got their damn minds right. They took care of Dwayne Brown, and they got everything that Russ was asking for. They took care of business. They knew what time it was. And if he can't play, shit gets real ugly. It's already murky at 2 and 3. It gets a lot worse if he's not under center. So we'll see what happens. Got another one from Vincent Cole. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Vincent Cole. Thank you for tripling up, who writes, what do you think of Jamal Adams' performance so far? He's solid. But again, I'm not the biggest Jamal Adams fan, because there's certain things you have to do with Jamal Adams for him to be effective. Like, he can cover, but he's not the best coverage safety. He's at his best when he's down around the line of scrimmage. Now, like I said, you put him in situations where he's keying quarterbacks' eyes and it takes him to the football, he can make some plays. But he's at his best when he's blitzing and he's being a nuisance down around the line of scrimmage. And if you're not putting him in those positions, if he's not in his element, you're really not maximizing what Jamal Adams brings to the table. The man had what? Did he have a double-digit sacks last year? Did he have 10 and a half, 11, 12 and a half sacks? I know it was 8.5 one time. Was that last year or was it the year before he had 8.5? The man's a problem around the line of scrimmage. That's all I know. And so, and not to say that he can't do it away from the line of scrimmage, but I think he's more comfortable down around the line of scrimmage. I know this much. He'd be blitzing a ton if I were the defensive coordinator. If I were Ken Norton, I'm not saying he'd be blitzing on every critical third down. He'd be blitzing on a huge chunk of them. He's a guy you definitely have to account for in the blocking scheme, because this dude's going to be coming quite a bit. But anyway, I digress. See if we got any more super chats. And we do not. So now we'll start to take some of these. We'll try to take some of these hashtags. Storm. Right. Damn it. We were robbed of a Geno Smith game-winning drive. Lockett just had to trip, didn't he? Also loved the double punt. The double punt was clutch. Like, I think Michael Dickinson might have been the Pro Bowl punter for the NFC last year, I think. It's plays like that where you go, okay, I can get with that. Because I was pissed off because I wanted Washington's punter to be the NFC Pro Bowl punter, Tress Way. And when you see shit like that, you realize, first of all, he's a beast. Number one. That's number one. He was a beast in college. And when the Seahawks drafted him, when they did, people were questioning them, and they was like, look, y'all don't know, like, this dude is that good. So he's a beast. But for him to have first of all, let's talk about the scoop of the football first. He scooped that up like he was a baller. Like, wait a minute, bro, you a punter. He's got a whole sleeve. He scoops it up like he palms it and scoops it and pops it up. Like, I'm like, wait, let me see that again. He runs over just casually, boop, scoops it, then realizes, oh, ain't nobody over here. Let me just stop, pop, and smoke that joint. Stop, lock, and pop it. And that's what he did. Pop that jank down to about the 11-yard line. Man, that was dope. And who didn't think that was a penalty, right? And then we were robbed. Now, I wanted to be robbed the Geno Smith game-winning drive because I had the Rams. Okay, I told you guys I was taking the Rams, and then I tweeted out about 10, maybe 15 minutes before the game. I got the Rams, and my score almost came to fruition. I said 30-22, and had the Rams scored another touchdown, that might have been the score because the Seahawks would have had to go for 2 eventually. So it would have been a 16-point game. They would have had to have gone for 2. So it could have easily been 30-22. But I just know this. I didn't need Geno Smith's heroics tonight because it would have cost me a game. And I couldn't afford to have a 0-1 start to the week. So that one was big. But yeah, Lockett tripping, man. Geno looked like he was dialed in, man. I ain't gonna bullshit you. Geno looked like he was ready to do something special. Look, he was feeling himself when he walked onto the field because they were chanting, Geno, Geno. So, he was thinking he was back in Morgantown, like all over again. He thought he was playing against Marshall. He thought he was about to go lead these boys down the field and have this storybook ending to the game. And that would have been his greatest moment in the league, by far, in a way. So, yeah, unfortunately for him, he's Geno Smith. And those are the types of things that happen to Geno Smith. So, no late game heroics. Geno had to be put into his place. DeSean Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, DeSean Bell writes, Ron and Curtis are the X factors Sunday. We'll see. Curtis, it'd be nice if he plays. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. It'd be really nice if he plays in the game on Sunday. That is for sure. We could definitely use him without a doubt. Jonathan Hankey writes, those Rams defense sure love to injure QBs. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. So they're physical, man, and they get to the quarterback. And because of that, things happen. And they always get to Russell Wilson. Always. They always fluster him. They always make him uncomfortable. And, yeah, they got to him. And did you see his finger? It was just like this. It was like that. And it wouldn't straighten out. No other sport. I've seen some bad hands in my day. No other sport produces mangled fingers and hands quite like the NFL. Brian Baldinger, if you've ever seen him just hold out his hand, I think it's his middle finger. It might be this finger, his ring finger. The shit is pointed this way. When he holds it straight, it's literally leaning this way at the knuckle, sideways. Like, dudes be coming away with hands that are unrecognizable after they play football. It's insane. Anyway, I digress. Let's see. Ree writes, Lou, it's a new NFL season and Geno Smith still stinks. Hey, you can say that, but Geno actually played some ball, but we all know the truth, okay? If Geno has to start next week against the Steelers, as bad as the Steelers are, I probably would pick Pittsburgh in that game. On a Sunday night at Heinz Field, probably going with the Steelers. But if he plays like he played tonight, he'd be working towards changing the narrative, 1. And 2, they would beat the Steelers because their offense is just anemic right now. But had Tyler Lockett not fallen, then the narrative remains the same. Oh, Geno stinks. He fell. That ball was perfectly placed. That would have been a completion. That drive would have got started off with an 18-yard chunk play, and they would have been off and running. So I think people are willing. I know I am willing to give Geno a pass tonight. He did no wrong. That interception is really not on him, But anyway, I'd like to think that Geno still stinks. I think I agree with you, but tonight's not the night to rag on Geno. Reese says, Lou, you got to mod me up. You know you can count on me. We're A1 since day one. Love to be a mod if you'd have me. Without a doubt. I always say just hit me in my DMs, but I can track you down and make you one, Ree. No problems whatsoever. Ree says, I always thought Geno got a raw deal. Dealt a shit hand, so to speak. He isn't putrid as he seemed with the Jets. I look, you go to the Jets, you seem to be dealt a raw hand, period. You know, that organization isn't one. Now, we'll see what happens with Robert Saleh and company now. They may be in better hands as we speak, but before, it was a mess. And I wanted to give Geno the benefit of the doubt, but no. I was never really able to do that. Remember, he got punched in the face by a teammate, broke his jaw to start the season off. I just never was willing to give Geno the benefit of the doubt. I always just felt like he stunk, period. Whether he was on the Jets or the Patriots or the Dolphins or the Chiefs or the Packers, he was destined to stink. That's how I felt. And then when he went to other places and was still equally as funky, it always just confirmed itself that, yeah, Geno stinks. Doesn't matter. Wherever he goes, the stench follows. But maybe he's found a home in Seattle. Maybe. Just a maybe. We'll see. Ree says, what in the green hell was Seattle wearing? It hurt my eyes. Ree, you're acting as if that was the first time you've seen them wear that. You know, the volt on volt. That's not the first time they've worn that color combination. They've had that for about a good 5, maybe 6 years running now. I think that might have started back when the color rush was a thing. Remember those days? Remember the old ketchup and mustard game that we would get? You know, Tampa and the Rams. Oh, the old primetime color rush games. Kind of miss those. Maybe not. Anyway, I digress. Reese says, Seattle sold their soul to acquire Jamal Adams, and their defense is still a shithole. Their biggest issue is they don't get enough pressure on the quarterback. If they got more pressure on the quarterback, and which Jamal Adams helps them provide, or helps provide for them, I should say, then he'd be able to do a little bit more, roam the field a little bit more freely, and make more plays. But the fact of the matter is, he's probably their best pass rusher, him and Carlos Dunlap. So, although Daryl Taylor is coming on, he's probably one of their better pass rushers. So, I told you guys the Seahawks don't know what to do with first-round picks anyway, so it's not like it's really hurting them. They used to squander them and picks, make stupid picks or trade out of the first round altogether. So I didn't have a problem with it, but the only reason I was on board with it is because they were getting the most out of Jamal Adams. It doesn't seem like they're doing that right now. And plus, the way that the Seahawks used to run their defense, going back to the Legion of Boom days, the free safety was everything in that defense. Like Earl Thomas was the centerpiece of that defense. You can talk about Dick Sherman, you can talk about Cam Chancellor, but none of that shit worked without Earl Thomas's speed and range to go red line to red line. He held everything together. So, being that single high free safety, I thought that's what they had envisioned for Jamal Adams, but they play a totally different style of defense now. They don't really play, cover 3 and all of that good jazz. They're a different team defensively. So, yeah, they gave up a lot. But again, I contend that Seattle really didn't do much with their first round picks anyway. So I don't know if it really hurts them as much as it, hurt a team that actually did something with their first round picks. Reed also writes, I knew one of these days Seattle's O-line would bite them in the ass. I mean, it's been biting them in the ass for years, Reed. Like this, Russell Wilson getting his finger, jammed up isn't the, first time this offensive line has been a problem, which is why Russ was bitching about it in the offseason. Like, I'm tired of getting sacked. Now, some of those sacks are on Russell Wilson, as we all know. He holds on to it too long. He runs around and runs into sacks. Some of this is on him, but a lot of these sacks, more than probably 65, 70% of them are on this offensive line. All right. And they haven't been good, and they've tried. It's not for a lack of trying. They've tried. They just haven't picked well in the back end of the first round. And that's also, a byproduct of being a good football team. When you're good, you're picking in the late 20s, early 30s, and it's sometimes hard to get the guys that you want to get your hands on. But, if you really wanted one of those guys, you could trade up. But they were always content with just hanging back and drafting a Jermaine Affetti. They were always cool with getting one of those types of players back into the first round, and usually those guys would not work out for the Seattle Seahawks. Reese says, Stafford missed a couple of throws against us. Threw a pick right to Jamal Dean, and he dropped it. Missed DeSean Jackson, too. He's been missing throws all season. I talked about those throws when he missed against you guys. He missed DeSean Jackson twice before hitting him the third time against you guys. DeSean Jackson was open 3 times deep on your secondary. He missed him the first 2 times, and the third time was a charm, and then he got in the end zone. So he's been missing, guys all season long, not just D-Jax. He's been missing Cooper Kupp. He's been missing Robert Woods. He's been missing players, man. He's got to be better. Christopher Hidalgo writes, could Stafford have an undisclosed injury? I don't think so. I mean, he's got one now, and it's not undisclosed. We know he hurt his finger tonight. I don't think he's hurt, but you know what? I take that back. I do recall Stafford having an injury to his hand in camp. And I remember him hitting his hand on the helmet of one of his teammates during camp, and everybody kind of holding their collective breaths. I remember someone telling that story. I want to say it was on Sunday Night Football, that week 1 game against the Bears. They told the story of Sean McVay almost, pissing himself essentially because everybody was holding their breath when Stafford hit his hand on the helmet, and they thought, oh my God, we just traded for this guy and he might be out for, the first, we might have to put him on the PUP list. He might be out for the first 2 months of the season with a broken thumb or whatever, fractured hand. And Stafford left the field that day. And I think he came right back in, though, the next day. And he said it was important to show the team that, he was going to be there for them, and he was, he could play through some things, and that he was going to lay it out on the line for them, even though he was hurting. Maybe his hand is still hurting from that. Who's to say? I'm not making any excuses for him. I don't think anybody's looking to make any excuses. I don't think Stafford is looking for any excuses. He's just missing some throws. He needs to be better. Simple as that. Got a super chat. This one is from DeJean Bell. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, DeJean. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, you got to make I Digress t-shirts. I've been told that before, so maybe there is a little validity to that. We'll see. But you're not the first person that has said that to me before. Let's see. I think I skipped over a hashtag right here. I did. My girl Condo P. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Thank you and shout out to all the members of the MOBB out there. Stand up. We in the building. You know what it is. Condo P writes, DeSean Jackson winded is something I never thought I would see. He could have turned the corner and scored. He didn't have the gas. That's what happens when your ass is 34 years old, okay? You don't have those young man legs like he used to. So, what's crazy, though? Him winded was still faster than the defender chasing him, because that defender had the angle. He beat the angle, turned the corner, and then was like, man, F it. I'm too tired to go the extra 12 yards that's going to take to get to the end zone. And I'm going to end up getting hit. And, D-Jax don't like to get hit. So he just went out of bounds. I don't know if I've ever seen D-Jax tired. But, again, when you're 34 years old, them 68-yarders hit different when you're 34 versus when you were 24 or 27 or even 30. They hit different when you're 34. So I'm with you. I don't know if I've ever seen him be that tired before on any given snap. Let's see. Where did we leave off? We left off at Christopher Hidalgo. So we are right here. Reed says, as a Bucs fan, I always thought the standard for D tackles was Warren Sapp. I never thought we'd see anything like 99 again. And then Donald came along. He may be even better than 99. Did you just say maybe? Did you say may? Reed? As in he might be? Maybe if he continues to play at this level, he will be? Has Warren Sapp ever won Defensive Player of the Year before? I'm not sure. I'm asking. Because Aaron Donald's won Defensive League MVP like twice already. And you could argue it's the Jordan effect with Aaron Donald at this point now, where you're like, shit, he won it the last 2 years. Like, can't give it to him again. Every year Jordan's career, he could have been league MVP. They was like, nah, can't give that shit to Jordan again. Who else is having a good year? Yeah, give it to Karl Malone. Give that shit to Clyde Drexler. Give it to somebody else. Aaron Donald's the best defensive player these eyes have ever seen. I've already said that. Warren Sapp's not even in his stratosphere, okay? When we have the discussion of Aaron Donald, we're talking about, is Lawrence Taylor the greatest defensive player, or is it Aaron Donald? That's the discussion we're having. Warren Sapp's nowhere in this conversation. Are you crazy? He may be the best 99. Take the word may out of there. He's the best 99 we've ever seen. Dude's ridiculous. Reese says, my boys are going to beat Miami on Sunday, Lou. Should be an easy win, but Miami is known for surprising people. No, you're going to win that game. Dolphins, they're not a good football team this year. Last year was, everything kind of fell in, perfectly in place for them to do what they did. It was a culmination of a lot of, good decisions by the front office, a schedule that was advantageous, and a team that kind of started to win games and built confidence last year. Now, you know what confidence does, and you know what winning does. Winning begets confidence. Confidence begets winning. It's a vicious, flavor delicious cycle that if you can continue to repeat over and over again, wash, rinse, repeat, you got a chance to do something special. And they did that last year, even though they still missed out on the postseason. They're not that team this year. So I fully expect you guys to steamroll them on Sunday. But we will see. Derek B writes, Dustin must have gone to the same offseason kicking camp as these two jackasses. Yeah, these kickers were special tonight, man. And you know what's crazy is both of them are actually really good kickers. With kickers, they're kind of strange. They're like golfers. Sometimes they get the yips, and it just takes a little while for them to snap out of their funk. And, Matt Gay had the yips tonight, on the kickoffs. And I told you the Seahawks kicker, Jason Myers, last year he was like automatic. And really, he's been a really good kicker. I mean, I venture to say over the last 5 to 7 years, let's just go with a 5-year sample size. I bet you he's up there in, highest field goal percentages in the league in the last 5 years. Justin Tucker and Mason Crosby are probably, pretty high on the list. And then I wouldn't be shocked if Jason Myers is like 3rd or 4th on the list of highest field goal percentages over the last 5 years. He's a really good kicker. But then he missed that kick against the Vikings. And sometimes all it takes is one for these guys to get knocked off kilter, and they're not the same guy. So, and he missed it. You know what? It actually started the week before that. The reason they lost to the Titans, and I shouldn't say the reason they lost, but he missed an extra point in that game. It should have been 31, not 30. And they ultimately ended up, that's why I thought the Rams are going to lose this game. How often does it happen where your kicker misses an extra point and that shit comes back to haunt you and you lose the game by 1 or 2? You ended up going for 2 and not getting it and you lose by 2. How often does that happen? Or you just lose by 1? And I was thinking, they're going to lose this game 24-23. Matt Gay is going to end up being the scapegoat tonight. Yeah, he got away, and then he did make a big kick at the end, to put it away for good. So, we'll see. Got a couple of super chats, though. I'll knock these out real quick. J Mart, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Lou, outside of Philly, Washington football team was his best team. Who are you talking about? Oh, DeSean Jackson. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that's close. I don't think he had 1,000-yard season anywhere else but Washington. I think he had 2 in Washington, and that might have been the most 1,000-yard seasons he's had anywhere, including Philadelphia. Let me take a look at that. I could be wrong. I know he had 2 seasons in Washington out of his 3, because he was banged up 1 year. The 2 out of his 3 years, he went over 1,000 yards in Washington. I honestly don't think he's gone over 1,000 yards in Philadelphia twice at this point of his career. But again, I could be wrong. So let's see. Nope, he went over 1,000 3 times in Philadelphia. I should have known better than that. He went over 1,000 yards twice in 2 years, or 3 years, excuse me. And in the middle was that year he was banged up. But yeah, he was outstanding. He hasn't had 1,000-yard season for anybody else but Washington and Philadelphia. And you could argue his best stretch of football was the first 4 years of his career, he was ridiculous. But I will say this: if you couple the last year of Philadelphia with the 3 years in Washington, you could argue that that's his best stretch of football. Those 4 years, that last year in Philly and the 3 years in Washington, are the best stretch of football. But I still think the first 4 years of his career, where he goes 900, then 1,100, then 1,000, then another 900 year, is better than 1,300, then 1,100, 520, and then another 1,000-yard season. But yeah, Washington was definitely his second best stop in his career for sure. J Mart, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Who writes, D-Jax. Still got it, man. Still got it. Still got it. If you guys are out there, do me a huge solid and hit the like button. You know what it is. Over 160 of you out there, only 59 likes. We can do so much better than that. So if you're out there, please do me a huge solid and hit the like button. Thank you. Please and thank you. I should say please and thank you. So, see where we left off with these comments. I think we were right here. Niners fan who writes, Jamal Adams is one of the most overrated players in the league. Dude can't cover and is getting paid insane money just to blitz. That's kind of how I felt. I don't think he is an instant liability in coverage, but I'm like, he's not an elite cover safety, but he does have an elite skill set. It's an art to blitzing. Not everybody can do it. Troy Polamalu was one of the best blitzing safeties. Rondé Barber, another guy that was tremendous at blitzing. There's an art to the timing of it, to disguising it, to navigating your way through traffic and getting to the quarterback. He's got tremendous closing speed once he does get into that backfield. He's a unique breed, that is for sure. But to your point, in order to pay somebody the kind of money he's being paid, you got to be able to do it all and do it all really effectively. And I do think that his coverage somewhat lacks behind, some of the other aspects of his game. But I don't know if I would call him overrated as much as I just think that his value may not be as great as the Seahawks made it. But he was going to get paid by somebody. If Seattle didn't pay him, somebody else was going to pay him. So, Rashid Fry, my guy Rashid. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, appreciate you. Prayers come out to the of the black, need that positive Che power in the colors. Praying we wear the Washington whites, or that positive chi, I should say. I don't know. I don't think, like, we don't just wear the white on whites for any game. I think that they're going to put on the all burgundy tops and the white bottoms. We got to win a game. I was going to bring that up tomorrow, but since you brought it up, we got to win a game with those, man. They're starting to become a curse almost. And they're not, because, we won games with them on a ton last year. We beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. It was our probably the most exciting game. The most enjoyable. No, the most exciting and thrilling game was the Steelers game. But the most enjoyable game was the Cowboys game, and we wore the burgundy tops, and they looked so crispy inside that dome. Oh, it's so clean. Anytime we get in a dome in a controlled environment, the burgundy just pops. Those helmets, if we changed our nickname, and I'm gonna miss those helmets. I really am. They're so damn clean. They're so clean. And like in Atlanta this past weekend, the burgundy was so clean. It was so clean. Oh my God. Anyway, I digress. Derek B writes, I was kicking myself for not looking at the injury report before picking the Rams. Football gods made a market correction with Russ, but Geno wasn't having it. You pick the Rams, then you're in good shape. Like, I picked the Rams because of the injury report. No Chris Carson, and they had a bunch of guys banged up going. DK Metcalf, even though he played well, it wasn't 100% coming into the game. I picked the Rams because of that, and because the Rams, they know how to beat the Seahawks, that they have their number. But I thought long and hard about it, and I think the injury report with no Chris Carson, he's such a big part of what they do, kind of pushed it over the top for me. Anyway, let's see. Writes, why does everyone say a team would be bad without their starting quarterback? Well, no shit. That's what the league is about. You stink without your starter. But some teams aren't like, okay. So when people say that, this is the value of a backup quarterback is what they're referencing. So I'll give you an example. If you've got one of those top, 5 to 7 quarterbacks in the league, there's no overcoming a quarterback injury because the guy behind him isn't even remotely close to him. But I'll give you a great example. My favorite team, the Washington football team, our starting quarterback went down in week 1. We probably are better off because of it. So it doesn't always apply, Ree. It only applies when you have Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. One of those guys goes down, there's no way your backup quarterback is even in the same galaxy as that guy. So you're really in trouble. But what happens when you have Daniel Jones? What happens when you have Ryan Fitzpatrick? You're fine. You'll be fine. You should be fine. It just depends on who your backup is. If you got a trash backup, you're not fine. But if you have a quality backup quarterback, you're fine. You'll be okay. So, yes, you're correct, though. The league is built on you having a quarterback. We saw what happened to the Dallas Cowboys last year. Your guy goes down and you don't have an adequate backup, you're screwed. You're screwed. Derek B writes, has there ever been anyone in NFL history better than D Jax at tracking the deep ball? You'd probably have to go back to one of those guys in the old days, like a Cliff Branch or somebody like that. But no, I think the answer is no to that. Like, nobody has that these eyes have seen. Okay. I don't know. Maybe Gary Clark, he was excellent at tracking the deep ball, but D-Jax makes it look effortless, man. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen him track a ball that was within his reach that he didn't get. And again, he always makes it look easy. How many times have you ever seen D-Jax drop a catchable deep ball? Like, it doesn't happen. He's a machine. And there's a reason I think he still is the NFL career leader for the most 40 catches of over 40 yards or touchdowns over 40 yards. Like, and I don't even think the second closest person is even in his stratosphere. Like, he's ridiculous. I think the answer is no. I think D-Jax is the best ever at tracking a deep ball. I think we got another super chat. We do have another super chat. 2 of them. Even DeSean Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, fantasy help, Jamison Crowder or Mike Williams. Okay, so you can't just throw out 2 random names and not tell me who they're playing against. I need to know these things. The Jets are playing against the Falcons. So that's a great matchup. But he's also not their number 1 wide receiver. Mike Williams and the Chargers, I think they're playing the Browns this week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I think I would go with Jamison Crowder. If he stays healthy, that's always the problem with Jamison Crowder. I mean, look at Mike Williams last week against the Raiders. He had 1 catch on 2 targets. I'm not saying it's going to happen again, but it could. There's no way if Jamison Crowder is healthy, he's getting less than 5 targets on that Jets team. So, and we just saw the Falcons this past week. We know their secondary stinks, and there will be opportunities for Zach Wilson. I'd go with Jamison Crowder, but that's just me. DeSean Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, also, can you predict Terry's new contract? It's hard to say right now. Honestly, he's going to get paid. He's going to get broken off, but I got to see what he does this year. That's going to really determine what that contract looks like. If he puts together another 1,200-yard receiving season, and he's got, he's already got 3 touchdowns. If he keeps up this pace, he'll end up with double-digit touchdowns this season, which he hasn't had in his career. That's been the one thing Terry hasn't really done at a high clip, is get into the end zone. If he's able to do that this year, that contract becomes astronomical. And it's really going to – so I'll just tell you this. His contract will be more than the contract Kenny Golladay just got from the Giants. How much was that? Like 17 and a half a year or something like that? It'll be higher than that. So it'll be one to watch. Well, let's see what Terry does this year. But I think, yeah, if he kills it, like I think he's going to continue to kill it, yeah, it'll be big. It'll be I think it'll be close to $20 million a year. Might be even north of that. We'll see. Anyway, see what we got. See where we left off at. We left off right around here. Right here with Ree. He says, Jamal Adams was perfect for Todd Bowles. Yeah, Bowles would get the most out because he would blitz him like crazy. He'd probably have, 15 sacks in a season messing around with Todd Bowles because he'd send him on just about every 3rd and long situation. You got to know 33's coming on the blitz. Got to know he's coming on the blitz. Let's see. 1/6 Devil Doc. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, what up, Lou? What up, 1/6 Devil Doc? Says, just wondering, when are you uploading studs and duds this week? It's already up, bro. Check your community wall. Check your community wall. It's already up. That was up way earlier today. Got that out of the way early this afternoon, I believe. So, yeah, check your community posts and you'll find it there. Let's see. HHC Lunar writes, Geno Smith is a name I haven't heard in a long, long time, and for good reason. But it has been a while. I made some jokes about him over the preseason because he played, the Seahawks didn't play Russell Wilson one single snap in the preseason, and Geno Smith took a lot of the snaps. And I was like, yep, Geno still stinks. So that's why I said when he came in the game, I was expecting Geno to remind us why he's Geno. Oh, Geno. Oh, no. I just thought that's what we were going to get. I couldn't have been more wrong. Could not have been more wrong. Ree writes, ready for your Braves to get destroyed by my Rays? Well, you're assuming that we're going to make it to the World Series. We got a long way to go before we can have that conversation. Your Rays look like you're on a crash course for the World Series. I, on the other hand, cannot make that statement. I got to go through these Brewers first, and then more likely than not, gonna probably have to conquer a beast that has been in the way just about every year that we've been in the postseason, and that's the Dodgers. So and that's assuming they get by the Giants, right? So we'll see what happens. Abel Ambricio says Torrey Holt in terms of the deep ball tracker. I ain't putting Torrey Holt over D-Jax. No way. No how. Kyle Little. This is peak Seahawks game on primetime. They refuse to play normal on primetime. They're usually a different animal on primetime television. That mystique has faded, though. They're no longer that team, But what's crazy is the running joke used to be, strange things happen in Seattle on primetime television. Strange things. And that really used to be true. How many things have we seen that were abnormal? Well, we've seen the Fail Mary that was not a catch for a touchdown by Golden Tate that was ruled a catch. And remember, we had replacement officials then, but no excuse for that. That was terrible. We saw the batting of the ball by KJ Wright out of the back of the end zone, which should have been a penalty. Detroit should have won that football game. Instead, the ball was awarded to the Seahawks, and they won that game. That happened in Seattle. I remember one time the Bills were kicking a field goal, and the officials did something screwy with the football. And they ended up either not getting a chance to kick it or they missed it because of the officials. Crazy things happen in Seattle on primetime television, but I digress. That's a funny comment. Not yet. Let's see. We're over the hour mark, so take a couple more and we'll get out of here. Reese says, my Rays are taking the series. We are the reigning Super Bowl champs, back-to-back Stanley Cup champs, and we can't win the damn series. It seems like right now Tampa is the hotbed for winning in every damn sport. Maybe it's the Rays' turn. And they've been good for a while now, it seems. This might be the year, man. It feels like it with the pitching that they have and Wander Franco doing what he's doing right now, and the bullpen being as dominant as it is, the bats that you have, Nelson Cruz and all of those guys. I don't know, man. This might be the year. This might be the year. We will see. Reese says Carolina traded for Gilmore, so we couldn't sign him, Lou. When it was announced he was cut, he started following BA, Jason Light, and other Bucks players. Then the bastards traded for him. I think he would have ended up in Green Bay personally. I don't think you had any money. What were you going to pay him in? IOUs? Bucks burgers? I mean, what were you going to pay him in? You gave your last bit of free dollars to Dick Sherman. I don't know if you would have had enough to sign him, but the Panthers didn't leave it to chance. They was like, yeah, well, he's not going there. That's for damn sure. So I don't know. Everybody just assumed he was going to Tampa. I did, because of his relationship with Tom Brady and knowing that you guys had a lot of issues in the secondary. It made a lot of sense, but I didn't think you had any money, and the Packers did. And just like they signed Jalen Smith, I think they would have made Stephon Gilmore an even bigger priority. So I think he would have ended up in Green Bay. I really do. But we'll never know. We will never, ever know. So that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Really appreciate y'all chopping it up with me tonight. And we got a good game. That was a good game. The score doesn't indicate how close the game was. This had a chance to be the Geno Smith game. It was this close from being a Geno Smith game. But as the football gods would have it, no such luck for Geno Smith. And you know what? That's probably the way it should be. Okay. Geno Smith should not go down in Thursday night football lore for having a improbable comeback for the ages once Russell Wilson goes down for the first time in his career. Don't think that's how that's supposed to work. So the football gods nipped that in the bud nice and quick, ended any suspense that was building, and the Rams take care of business 26-17. Run their record to 4-1 in 5 games with Matthew Stafford under center. Bounce back from the ugly loss a week ago at home versus Arizona. Meanwhile, the Seattle Seahawks drop to 2-3. And I don't know if I can remember a time where the Seattle Seahawks, with Russell Wilson at quarterback, after 5 games, were under 500. I could be wrong, and there could be a season in there where, they were struggling early and then they turned it up later on. But because I know it was one year, it might have been like 2019, that we thought the Seahawks were rebuilding and retooling and they were going to stink, and they still managed to win like 10 games. I don't know if I can ever recall 5 games into the season, the Seahawks looking like this and being under 500. So they're not in a good spot. And with Russell Wilson's injury, we're kind of awaiting the status of his finger. If it doesn't come back positively, they could be in trouble, and that could be the final nail in the Seahawks coffin this season as they lose 26-17 to fall under 500 at 2-3 on the season, and now in sole possession of last place in the NFC West. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. I thank you guys for joining me. If you haven't already done so, please do me a huge favor and hit the subscribe button for more great content. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing, and hit the like button, as that helps this channel grow immensely. Get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man Louie T. Until next time, I'm your man Louie T, signing off, telling you guys to join me tomorrow for the LouieTeeNetwork podcast. If not, I'll see you guys for overtime on Sunday. Have a good one. God bless, and good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.